This is Vidya with Verity, and I'm Verity Coonan, breathwork facilitator and founder of Vidya Breathwork, and someone who has, for over a decade, sat with people in the realest, rawest moments of their lives. This show is for the ones who are ready to go all the way into the real story, the real body, the real work. Raw conversations, honest truth, and the tools that actually create change. Let's go. Welcome back to Vidya with Verity. I'm Verity Coonan, the founder of Vidya Breathwork. And this season, the foundations. Last week, we talked about the safety, the why of safety, and how it is the most ambitious thing that you can do. Today, I want to go one layer deeper and talk about something that I think is the most misidentified state in high achieving people. Chronic vigilance. What is it? What it does to your body over time, and most importantly, why you probably don't even think you have it. Here's the thing about chronic vigilance. It doesn't look the way you'd expect. It doesn't look like panic attacks. It doesn't look like social anxiety or not being able to leave the house. It doesn't look like you're falling apart. It looks like being really, really, really good at everything. It looks like always being the one who notices what needs doing before anyone else does. Always being prepared, always having plan B, being the person that people rely on because you never drop the ball. It looks like a high threshold for discomfort, not being able to sit without feeling vaguely guilty, doing 3 things at once and calling it efficient, lying awake at night not because you're panicking, but because your brain just keeps going. It looks like being extremely functional and extremely tired, and not fully understanding why. See, chronic vigilance is not a personality type. It's not being type A or being driven or being called ambitious. It's a nervous system that learnt at some point, usually very early on, that it needed to stay on. That dropping guard, even for a brief moment, had consequences. That being caught off guard was dangerous. And once that pattern is set, the system just doesn't switch off because the original threat is gone. It keeps scanning. It keeps running in the background, even when everything is objectively fine. Let's get into what's actually happening physiologically, because I think once you understand the mechanism, it's harder to dismiss. When your nervous system perceives threat, real or imagined, past or present, it activates the HPA axis. That's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. It's the communication line between your brain and your stress hormones. And when it fires, cortisol releases and adrenaline releases into your bloodstream. This is useful in the short term because that's exactly what you need. Cortisol sharpens your focus, adrenaline speeds up your reaction time. Your body is doing its job. The problem is when the system is finally ready to turn off, it doesn't. It never fully turns off. And chronically elevated cortisol does some very specific things. It suppresses the immune system, which is why high stress periods often end in getting sick. It disrupts sleep architecture, particularly the deep REM restorative stages. It affects memory consolidation, specifically the transfer of short-term memory to long-term memory, which is why under sustained stress that you can feel like you're forgetting everything. It increases inflammation in the body, and over time, it begins to change the structure of the brain, specifically shrinking your hippocampus. That's the part responsible for memory and emotional regulation. And here's the part which I find most striking. It also blunts the dopamine system. I know. This is the reward system, which means the longer you run in chronic vigilance, the harder it becomes to feel genuine satisfaction, to feel the win, to feel like enough. So you're working harder and it's starting to feel less. And this is not a character flaw. That's a neurochemical consequence of a system that has been running hot for too long. I want to run through some signs of chronic vigilance, and I want you to notice what happens in your body as I read them. Not just whether your brain or you intellectually agree, but what you actually feel. Okay, you ready? Close your eyes. Let's take a breath. Big inhale all the way to the belly, drop into your body and relax. Let it all go. You find it hard to do nothing, not because you're lazy, but because stillness triggers an uncomfortable feeling, like you should be doing something, like you're wasting time, like the world might fall apart if you stop holding it all together. You're a light sleeper, or you sleep heavily but wake up tired. You fall asleep easily, but the 3 a.m. has a hold on you. You're always slightly ahead, already thinking about the next thing before this one is finished, already planning a response before the other person has even finished talking. Compliments slide off you. You receive them, you say thank you, and immediately your mind goes to what you still haven't done, what still isn't good enough. You feel responsible for other people's emotions. If someone is in the room and uncomfortable, you feel it. If there's tension, you either fix it or you absorb it. Rest doesn't feel restful. A holiday, a day off, a Sunday with nothing planned. And somewhere inside, there's a hum, an unsettled quality, like you're waiting for something to go wrong. You are very good in a crisis. And sometimes, if you're really honest, you wonder if you create them, or at least don't resist them. Because the urgency is when you feel most alive. None of these things make you broken. Every single one of them at some point was adaptive. These were the ways that your system kept you safe. They worked. And now they're the very thing that's keeping you from the life you're building. For most people who are living in chronic vigilance, the pattern was set before they had language for it. Maybe you grew up in a house where the emotional temperature could change without warning, where you learned to read the room before you could even read a book, where being switched on and aware was the thing that kept you and maybe other people safe and calm. Maybe it was more subtle than that. A parent who was overwhelmed, so you learned to never need too much. A sibling who got all the attention, so you learned to achieve. A school environment where you were only praised if you performed. A relationship where you were only loved if you were useful. The specific origin matters less than the pattern that you're still running today. The pattern is this: your nervous system concluded that vigilance was the price of safety, that staying alert, staying useful, staying ahead was how you survived. And your system kept the contract long after you moved out, long after these people were gone, long after the actual threat had passed. Your body kept its end of the bargain because you're a committed human. I think about how many years I ran on that contract without even knowing it, how much I mistook the vigilance for strength. I think about how many years I ran that contract. The moment that shifted, something for me was realizing I don't actually know what it feels like in my body when I'm safe. I've never been so trained to track threat that I don't have a reference point for its absence. That was the beginning of something, not the end of the vigilance, but the beginning of just noticing it. Being aware of how much I would navigate every step prior. It's why my preference is body work and breath work rather than speaking, because I can already say what somebody wants to hear. So what do you do with this? Now, maybe you've recognized some patterns in yourself, or you've recognized these. I'm not going to give you a 7-step plan because you'd be really good at it. But because that's not how our nervous system works. And I know you probably want that. because then you can tick off everything and achieve all of your goals. What I want to offer you is one thing, and it's very simple. It will probably feel very strange, and do it anyway. Start by building a reference point for safe. Here's what I mean. Twice a day, morning and sometimes afternoon, I want you to pause for 60 seconds and do a slow scan, not looking at what's wrong, specifically looking at what is okay. Right now in this moment, what is not a threat, what is stable, what is working. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the weight of your body in the chair or in the car. Just slow down your exhale. Slow it right down. Make it double the time of your inhale. And name it out loud or in your head, depending on where you are. 3 things that are okay right now. Not 3 things that you're grateful for in a bypass your body kind of way. 3 things that are actually physically right now okay. Perhaps it's my body is warm. I am sitting down. There is no immediate danger. It can sound almost absurdly simple. It is. And what you're doing is teaching your nervous system that it's allowed to register safety when it arrives. You're building the reference point. You're showing your body what it feels like so it can start to live there more often. Something that I am very big on when I work with my facilitators and one-on-one clients is the nervous system reset, because your body is in the safest position possible, which is on your back with your legs on a chair or couch at 90 degrees. You're breathing into your belly. This is about 20 minutes at around the same time each day, because your body is registering and remembering or experiencing for the first time safety. It needs to know that when it slows down at this specific time every day, it's okay. And so if you want guided practice with this, this is in the Vidya app. It's exactly what I'd point you to, because it's not intense, it's not hard. It's just you showing up committed to you to bring that safety back to your body. If you heard any of yourself in what I described today, the always on, the can't switch off, the high achiever who doesn't identify as anxious but resonated with everything I said, I want you to know that it's not a life sentence. And there's no shade. I was tick, 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 tick on all of these things. It's a pattern. And patterns, when you can see them, name them, and start to work with the body, they change. Next step, I'm going to go a little bit more into the anatomy of breath work. So what's actually happening in the body when we work with the breath, and why it's the most direct access point we have in this nervous system, in this world, and why it works when probably everything hasn't. Share it if it landed. Leave a review if this show is giving you something. And I'll see you next week on Video with Verity. Ciao. That's it for this week. If something landed for you, please share it with someone who's genuinely ready to hear this. And I would love if you have 2 minutes to leave us a review on wherever you listen to your podcast, because this genuinely helps people find us. You can find me on Instagram at Verity Coonan. And if you're interested in becoming a breathwork facilitator or joining the Vidya app, I'll link it all in the show notes. See you soon.